Hi everybody, Manning from Strong Data Sheets here. Today I'm going to go over some of the things that I do for the aesthetics of the sheets. And when I'm thinking about the kind of look and feel of the sheets, I've got a couple of things in mind. So first and foremost is the, for lack of a better term, professionalism with which I'm trying to convey to the lifter, right? I want them to open this spreadsheet, have something that's quite visually appealing and nice to look at, and kind of get a sense for the pride that I put into my own workmanship, right? At the end of the day, if you were to get a program off, even if you thought them to be one of the best coaches in the world, but they kind of hand wrote it out on a scrap piece of paper, you would subconsciously question how much thought and effort had gone into it. So that's kind of what I want to get across, is that this is an individualized program that I put a lot of thought into, and the packaging that you get, that it comes in reflects that. You would never buy a Rolex and it comes in a brown cardboard box, right? So that's the first thing. It's something that after you've kind of done it once and you've laid out the color scheme that you want, you've put your logo onto it, you only need to do it that once, but I do think it can go a long way. The second thing is that how easy is it for both us as the coach, but I think more importantly, the lifter to actually view it. One thing that we've kind of got to keep in mind is that we're obviously going to be viewing the spreadsheet either on a laptop or a desktop. And so we've got this wide screen to take in all of the information. The lifter is most likely, unless they're going to set up their laptop on the bench press, are going to be looking at this with their phone. So there's obviously a much smaller screen. It's obvious, probably a lot smaller as well. So we need to make sure that they're not like scrolling across too much to pick up the information. And also that it's just easy on the eyes to read. They're less likely to make mistakes. It's a less frustrating process to open your phone and view it. And so that's something that we've got to keep in mind. The third thing is trying to think about, are there ways in which we can set this up so that the lifter is more likely to fill the thing in, right? And I'm sure the rest of you can get quite frustrated when we see that, a lifter hasn't put in the RPEs for their back-offs, where they've mindlessly, stuck the pin in the machine for their accessories, but haven't recorded the weight. So is there a way in which we can make it more likely for them to actually fill that information, and we're not having to, come to the end of the block and go into a block review and start sending passive-aggressive messages to our lifter to fill the damn thing in? So a couple of ways in which I think that I've tried to go about solving these problems is that you'll see that there's striations across the sheets in these different shades. That's not something where I go through and click every cell to actually create. It's something that's done automatically. So what you'll see is that as soon as a cell is a particular exercise, it creates that shade across the rows and across all of the weeks. So that when I have my squats, which is these 4 rows of 5x2 in this case, it all aligns to that color scheme. And when I add the bench in, we can see again the sheet is smart enough to pick that up, right? And it does so automatically, so that after you set it up once, you don't ever have to worry about it again. The next thing is when I enter in a particular load and RPE. So this is the part of the sheet where people are actually filling in. It changes color. As stupid as this is, I kind of think that to some degree, when you enter the information in and it changes color, it's almost like this reward mechanism inside of your brain to say, yep, you've completed it, you've finalized it. And so you kind of go through that process throughout the entire day. But also, if we come across to something which could foresee, could potentially happen, which is where it's not uncommon for a lifter to forget to put in the RPE of their last back-offs. It's not uncommon to forget to just enter the weight of their accessories. But as we view this as a whole, first of all, it's easy to see where those missing parts of information are. But also, we as humans have what's called a neatness bias. So we want things to look uniform and orderly. So we can instantly see that these are missing information, and it's just depending on how much OCD you kind of have, we kind of are incentivized to go through and actually fill all of this in so that it's just all done and completed. And now it looks nicer, it looks more complete. So I'm going to show you how to do that in Google Sheets and create these both these striations and also this change in color. So building this out, the first thing that you'll notice is that there's this other column. Now with spreadsheets, I do a lot of hiding things. So the same column is there, it's just hidden. And you just right click the entire column, hide column. You can also do this thing called grouping. So I've grouped these three because I don't want my lifters to be looking at their estimated 1RM. So it's also hidden via grouping, and it's then very easy for me to, if I want to start analyzing it, looking at it, just clicking the button and opening it up. But we've got this hidden column. Within Google Sheets, there isn't actually a way of getting it to identify whether these are the same and getting it to run those colors across. We actually need to create this formula which runs down here. And as we'll see, what the formula does is that if this is the same as this, or in this case, if this one is the same as this one, it reports the same number, but if they're different, it adds one. So that what Google Sheets is now able to pick up is that you've now got this column of odd numbers, odd, even, so on, and that is what's going to allow it to detect, to be able to see what it's looking for and change the colors. So we'll first set that up. What it's going to be is equals if B16, if this cell, so the one above it, equals the one below it, we want it to report the cell above it. So we want it to report 0. You don't need to write this. You simply put in a column, but now the language is if these two are equal, report C15. If it is not, we want it to report C15 plus 1. Okay. Now you might say, well, that one's blank and that one's blank. They are actually different because I've got some code underneath here. But now we can run these down through here. They're all the same, obviously. And I'm just going to copy this across so that we can see when it's working. Okay. So the formula's done its thing. Just another very little side note. We've come to the end of it and we don't need to put in any exercises. I like to hide that. Just now it looks more complete so that you don't have those blank rows. Anyway, now what we're going to use is something called conditional formatting. So conditional formatting. Okay, so there are a litany of formulas that already exists, and we are actually going to use some of those, but in this case it's a slightly more complicated thing for it to do, so we actually need to custom make this formula. The first thing that we're going to look at is where do we want this to be applied to. I can see that it's already done that, right? So this is obviously original and it's applied to everything. this is what I'm showing you guys to do. And so I deleted that conditional formatting from most of it. I've just obviously forgot to add it to here. So that's why it's already happened in these cells. Anyway, okay, now I'll need to start again. That's fine. Apply to the ranges, these ones, and the rest. No. So you do that, and then you add in the other range. So these ones as well. Okay, so it's now applied to all of this, and I know that it's already been applied to that as well. What I want it to now do, coming back to here into the custom formula that we're writing out, is, okay, equals, is even, is it even? And now we're telling it where do we want it to look. So I want it to look down the C column, but not just C. Sorry, I want it to look down only this C column. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this $ in front of it, which locks it to only looking at that column. And the first cell that we're going to obviously do it with is C16. But I'm not going to put a $ in front of that, because if I am, then what it'll do is it will only ever look at C16. I want it to look down the C column, but I want it to look down all of the rows. So we're unlocking 16 so that it will go through 17 to 26, right? No. And now the color that I want to use is, I have just lost my cursor. Yeah, here we go. So originally it's white. I want it to be slightly darker, so we'll come down to this light gray color, and there we have it. Okay. So now we've got the sets, reps, and the intensity columns, as well as the rest, all in that color. I then don't like the fact that you've kind of got these missing bits, so we're going to write another formula for a different color. So, like, I can't write the same formula and then get it to work out that in this column I want a darker yellow, in this column I want a darker red. You do need to just apply a new formula, but it's going to be exactly the same. So I'm going to apply it to these yellow ones. Custom formula is equals is even sign C16. And then the color that I want, so the default color is this light yellow. I'm going to make it slightly darker to now get those. Done. Adding another rule to here, and to the where I've got the notes as well. Is not empty. Custom formula is equals is even. And now I believe it's this one. I want to maybe go for that one. Yep, that's good enough. Why hasn't it done it through the H? No, that's not right. Okay, let's start again. So I want it to do these ones, add another range, these ones. Okay. Yeah, now it worked. And so there you have it. And now just to show that it works, if I was to, let's say, get rid of one of this, it now recognizes that this one is something different and creates that. If I was to get rid of like half of that, all of that then falls away. Okay. So the next thing that we're going to do is, well, I first want to hide this because now I'm done with it. You'll see that I applied those conditional formatting just to this week 1. You will then have to go through, I suppose, how many weeks you put as the default in your program, and apply it to all over. But that's just simple enough as going through those ranges and selecting those cells. The next thing that I'm going to do is a more simple conditional formatting. So nope, not that. The range that I want are these cells. Okay. So at the moment, the most commonly used conditional formatting is it empty or not? So as they enter the data, if we put 140 in here, it now becomes green. But I don't want it to be green. I want it to be slightly darker shaded. I think that's the color that I use. Probably that one. There we go. Okay. I like it to be white because now I can see it a little bit more, and I wouldn't mind if it was bold. So now, as we come through all of these, entering this in, it changes color, and we're more likely to end up with something that's entirely filled in. Awesome. Please let me know if you guys have any questions. Drop them into the comments section. Thank you.